Today's date is the 10th of May 2021. My name is Jack McEntee and I'm interviewing Sam Stewart for my project Encounters of the Rural Kind, which focuses on people's experience with rural crafts and the Cranborne Chase area. So Sam, could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you currently do for work?
My name is Sam Stewart. I manage sort of one half of the estate in Chettle. My sort of background, I started as an apprentice doing countryside management, which involved lots of types of things, fencing and work in the woods and work on roads and all kinds of things. But did that for a number of years. I was brought up, I grew up in Witchampton, which is not far from where we're living now. But predominantly my job now is to manage the estate, which is lots of things, quite a mix of jobs really. There's kind of formal, there's the gardens here, so there's a lot of sort of upkeep of the gardens and stuff, but also my sort of main focus is the woodland here. We have an 80-acre mixed broadleaf woodland, predominantly hazel, coppice, which I'm just trying to get back into a rotation of some kind. Learning as I go. I mean, I'm no pro at this. I'm just kind of just trying to pick up knowledge from people in the area and what I read and things like that, really. Yeah.
I noticed, and then you mentioned coppicing. Part of my project, we've been looking at a few different rural crafts. So obviously you still use coppicing. Why do you think it's so important to carry on using traditional crafts for kind of woodland management? Or do you think it would be better to innovate and move forward?
I mean, to work a coppice. I mean, ours is all hazel here, and it's a dying art, and it's such a beautiful place to be inside a coppice, I think. And there's a lot of different variations of it. I mean, I'm kind of in it for the wildlife, because I like to see the changes that happen by bringing stuff back into rotational coppice, but equally leaving stuff to be to leave it, just because of the diversity of what happens throughout the woodland. As for the product that comes out of it, we have a lot of I mean I've been working here for probably 5 years now, and stuff that we cut 5 years ago is starting to form nice usable material for making things. I'm quite keen in using what we harvest from the woodland on the rest of the estate, trying to get myself into kind of weaving fences, and we use a lot of the for example, this morning I went through and tried to find sort of self-sown oaks and hazel and stuff throughout the wood, and using rods that I'd cut this winter as the stakes for those. So it's all kind of just trying to use what's around. But and I think that I mean, a lot of our woodland here was very overstood, so quite dark in the woods, not a lot of light in there. And we've been slowly clearing about an acre a year, and opening up the rides again, which have just created so much more habitat for birds. We've had, like, all the butterflies have started to come back in. We've got quite an issue with deer here. Got a lot of fallow deer here, which like to chew on all the nice new hazel, which I'm trying to keep them off. But
you're in the losing battle. You're doing it kind of for the animals, but then they're ruining it for you.
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of have to find a medium somewhere. But it's all fun. It's just a lovely place to be. I mean, I've always loved working outside, and to spend time in the woods, regardless of what you're doing, is a lovely day, you know. Yeah.
Well, you've answered a lot of my questions just in that alone. Kind of going forward with it, So you said about using a lot of products, reusing the products you use across the estate. Is it in the sense of you're doing it just to try and almost be conscious about what you're using, or is it that they are kind of genuine products that you would look to use for that anyway?
I mean, everything is available in the woods, I think. So, I mean, I imagine, and it always was that was. I mean, you could never nip down to the builders merchants in the day. So it's all. I mean, everything is available here, and you've just got to kind of look past that trip down the shop and just have a rummage around in the wood, and you can generally find what you're after with a bit of organisation and stuff. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, we've made all sorts here, and each year I'm learning more and more things, and trying to, and trying to put my head to jobs that will involve lots of the stuff that we have here.
Definitely. It sounds really exciting that you can, almost as you said at the start, witness the thing you've done or things you've done a few years ago and see them coming back into the cycle that you mentioned. That does sound really almost satisfying. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Speaking of Cranborne Chase, where kind of Chettle is located, people that haven't been there before, why should they go down and visit Cranborne Chase?
Just a beautiful part of the countryside. I mean, it's there's such an array of things here, loads of history here. I mean, loads of farming, lots of kind of open plain farming. But I think, I mean, there's just such. I mean, the kind of the hills here, the walks here. It's just a lovely place. I mean, I've worked kind of around. I mean, I've always lived this part of the country, but this is by far my favourite area. Yeah.
Amazing. So you mentioned hazel being the kind of main wood that you use there. Is that the main one you use because it's the main one available, or is it just your preferred kind of material?
It's what's worked. I mean, yeah, it's the mostly available. I mean, sort of this in this neck of the woods, it's all hazel. You kind of get up to sort of Surrey way, you get lots of chestnut, and they're two separate products really. I mean, hazel is lovely to work with. I think. I mean, I've from what I used it from when I started here, the hazel was of poor quality, and I'm starting to understand that the to look after your hazel well and to get some nice material pays off. Much easier to work with, much nicer to use, much nicer to look at. But yeah, I mean, I've tried to. I mean, we are slowly planting a bit of. I mean, I've always liked to use sweet chestnut as well, but we just haven't got that much down here. Sweet chestnut's great for sort of more. It's a durable wood, so it's great for building structures out of, which is another kind of keen interest of mine. And you can involve hazel a lot in these things, but yeah, I mean, it's because it's a ready available material here, really.
Nice. So I've asked kind of the good things about Cranborne Chase. What would you say is the most challenging part of what you do, kind of caring for a woodland, especially as that size at 80 acres, obviously a lot of land? What would be the most challenging aspect of caring for it?
What would be the challenging aspect of caring for it? I mean, it gets cold and wet in the winter. I don't know really. I mean, the kind of it like through the seasons, it always changes. So your work rate changes throughout the year. So you never really get too bored of anything because it's always kind of moving forward and changing. And I don't know really. I mean, I guess.
So that's a good thing. If you can't find something challenging, it's obviously a good sign.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I mean, you have your good days and your bad days, but the good days always overpower the bad days. So yeah,
definitely. So we've gone for that. We'll go back to the good side. What would you say is the most satisfying part about your job?
I mean, I love to. I like to. I mean, I guess I have an imagination of how I imagine things to become, and then when they actually start to come around, it always seems like everything's going to take such a long time, but it doesn't really. I mean, watching trees that you've planted as small little whips now almost casting a bit of a shade on top of you is such a lovely thing. I think I think that's a really rewarding feeling. But lots of things really, just to improve each year what you've done the last year, and to learn from it is quite a satisfying thing.
Definitely. Yeah. So obviously you've got that whole list of things that you love about it and are so satisfying. We mentioned earlier about the rural crafts and that they're kind of dying out in your opinion. Would you think you put your finger onto why people aren't getting into these rural crafts as such? Would you say it's about kind of the training's not there for them, or is it you think people just kind of don't want to, or could you put your finger exactly, or is it a range of things that are...
I think the training's there. I think there's a lot of opportunities to get into it. I think there's not. I mean, it's not really about money. You're never going to be really rich out of it. It's not. I mean, it's just about a way of life, really. I think once you've kind of worked in a woodland and you enjoy it, that's it. That's what you understand then. I think that there are certain types of people who really enjoy it and certain types of people who don't really understand it, and that's just what it is. And I don't know really. I think it's readily available. There's lots of places you can learn to do it, and lots of companies that will show you the ways or things. Yeah. Why
do you think it's so important to kind of keep and protect them for the wildlife like Cranborne Chase that are so important to keep on this cycle that you mentioned?
Mm-hmm. I think it's you. I mean, there's loads of different ways of looking at it, but I think that if you really appreciate an area or a place, you only want to do what's best for that area. And I mean, for example, I really try to keep it as natural and as normal as I can. I don't like to. I mean, like I say, we're not in this for money at all, really. It's just to do what's best for the environment around you. And just plod. I mean, I don't really know, really. It's quite a tricky question.
No, that is good. It's good. Same again, I suppose. To you, what's nice about this for me is that to you it is just almost natural. That's the reason why you'd want to care for the woodlands like this, why you'd want to put in the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I think I mean I think from I mean I started in a for a countryside management company where you were a contractor and you had a job to do, and there was like a time limit on the job, and you're learning, you're trying to learn as much as you can in that time that you're on a job, and then move into this where, I mean, I can see myself being here for kind of the rest of my life. So you look at things in a different way, and you're trying to you're really trying. I mean, you're staying on the job until the very end. So you're really trying to put everything into it because you're not gonna leave it, you know.
Definitely, and you know that you can get a lot out of it at the end, kind of the reward.
Yeah, and you can, and you're making an imprint on something, and it can be quite I mean, I find it quite, I don't know, you kind of overthink everything, and you'll cut down some trees and you think, oh God, was that the right idea? And then in a couple of years' time, you see the change that happens in that area, and the light coming in, and the regeneration of new things, and the wildlife that is used in that area whilst the landscape has changed a bit. And then working on a coppice, it will all come back, and then it all kind of changes back again and just goes through cycles. So I think, yeah, it's a very rewarding thing, and it almost always it will always kind of pay off in the end, I think. I mean, yeah.
What would be the one thing that kind of drew you there above your old job, apart from just the kind of time to spend there?
I think growing up, I grew up in Witchampton, which isn't far from here, and I think there's a lot of memories in this area. I spent a number of years working where I work now as a contractor, and really kind of understanding the area and the people. The people around here are really nice. There's some, I mean, the village where I live is a lovely bunch of people. And for me, I think like community is really important, which Chettle has massively. A great number of people here, and it just feels like home to me. It feels like I should be here.
Definitely, that's really nice, actually. And that's kind of what I think this project's trying to get at, is to encourage people to come out to the Cranborne Chase area. Would you say that kind of community and home feeling is something that everyone would get coming, or is it just because you've worked there?
Yeah. No, I mean, we have a lot of people pass through the village here. We have a great little shop here, and lots of walks from the village, and a cracking shop in the village. And so, yeah, I mean, everyone is made to feel welcome here, and they will enjoy their time here. And yeah.
No, I like it. It's almost the exact kind of community spirit that we're kind of looking to tap into, and see if the same I asked about the kind of rural crafts, see if that community feels still there in these kind of areas. And could you tell me kind of why you could encourage people to maybe take up a rural craft that you think would be dying out? Or two questions: why would you encourage people to? And if you had to tell people to pick one, what would you tell them to pick?
I'd encourage people to do a craft, like a rural skill craft kind of thing, because it's just enjoyable. I think you yourself as a person will feel good about yourself. It feels like you're doing the right kind of things. It's good on your body. It's a physical job. So you don't really need to go to the gym. It's all kind of involved, like it just feels right. It's a satisfying job. You feel like you learn a lot. Each day you learn new things, whether it be wildlife around you, ways of doing things, like plants, all kinds. What was the second question? Sorry.
If someone came to you and said, "I'm going to start a rural craft, Sam, what should I pick?" What are you telling them to pick?
What would I tell them to pick?
You say become a hurdle maker, try and be a blacksmith, do coppicing. What route do you send them down?
I'd send them down the coppicing route, but only because that's what I do and enjoy. I mean, I'd love to kind of, like, you see the old boys making hurdles and stuff, and I mean they make it look so easy, and it really isn't. I mean, that is kind of years and years of practice and molding your hands to a certain shape and things, and that's very rewarding to kind of see the old boys making hurdles and stuff, because I think that is real skill and art. But yeah, I think I'd send people down the coppicing route. Just for the wildlife side of it, really. Lovely to kind of see. Lovely to see an amount of, like, a huge amount of change in such a small area very quickly is lovely, really nice.
Definitely. Now you've encouraged people to start doing it, could you just explain to them quickly what coppicing is, so that they don't turn up and all flustered?
Yeah. So coppicing is, you imagine one tree, let's say hazel, and you cut that down, and you can cut it down right down to the ground, and then you think that, I mean, it looks like you have just killed that tree, but then that tree then produces a number of shoots which shoot up, and if the deer haven't had their lunch on top of it, then you will have, let's say, 5 shoots from the one tree that you've cut down, and then over the years you will manage this over and over, so you will continuously chop it back down to the ground after however many years you have chosen for your cycle or for the product that you want, and it will always grow back. So it's just and it keeps a healthy woodland. So you allow light down, you allow air through, like I say, the change of wildlife around that, and you get very anal about what you're trying to produce. Yeah, so you can use, I mean, there's lots of ways of doing it. You can go modern with chainsaws and stuff, or you can go old school with a hook and an axe. It just depends how strong you're feeling, I guess.
And how hard you want your day to be, really.
Yeah.
You mentioned the cycle. It's quite a long cycle for coppicing.
Well, with hazel here, I mean, we do it on about a 7-year rotation. So you'll cut it down, and 7 years later, you'll be able to cut it down again and have some lovely rods to use for things. You might not want to go to 7 years. You might want, I don't know, you could go to kind of a 5-year, and you could make some poles for the garden or for weaving or all sorts. I mean, like I say, I'm completely new to all this, really. So I'm only saying what I know and what I've learned so far. But I mean, on something like sweet chestnut, you could have it on a 20-year rotation if you wanted kind of posts out of it for fencing or poles to make a house out of. So it really depends on what the material is that you are coppicing. You can use oak on a coppice. I've not done it. I've tried a few little areas here to see what happens, but obviously that is a very slow growing wood, and probably a lot longer than a 20-year cycle, I'd imagine.
Wow. I just in what you said then, you mentioned a lot of the different things that these kind of crafts and just the wood in general can be used for. Would you say there's been a change into using things like hurdles and all the traditional crafts that you'd make with? Do you think that there's been a change into using them for more decorative purposes rather than the traditional purposes now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like in the day, hazel hurdles were used predominantly for the upkeep of your animals. So you'd use them for holding sheep in pens or for moving sheep around. Kind of quite often when you watch a film, like an old school film, you'll see a lot of hurdles in the background of the farmyards and stuff. Whereas now we have metal and all kinds of things now. So as kind of an everyday item at work, now they're kind of just used for a pretty fence in your garden mostly. I mean, you might still find the odd person using them, but it's just so much more cheaper and efficient to use a metal hurdle nowadays. So yes, that has kind of died out. It would be lovely to see it all used again like that, but it just won't be, I don't think.
Yeah, of course. It's nice that you can still fly the flag for using these kind of things and even reusing them around the rest of Chester, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Sam, thank you so much on behalf of me and everyone that will be listening to this for all the work you do in Cranborne Chase and just keeping it as beautiful as it is for everyone. Thank you so much.
I really hope that helped. I'm not. I've never
You really did. Thank you.
All right, man. Well,